All right. Welcome back to another episode of Rain Girl TV, formerly The Interview. Today we have Anthony Coleman. He has a really big announcement that he's going to be making with us today. So I want you to stay tuned and pay close attention to what Anthony Coleman has to say. Anthony Coleman, welcome to The Interview, which is now Rain Girl TV. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing okay, Rain Girl. How are you?
I'm doing really good.
Good.
I know you're at a funeral right now, and I'm very sorry to hear that you had to attend the funeral of the young man who got shot over last weekend. He was 18 years old, and he was shot on Broadway in North Chicago, Illinois. And I know you're attending the funeral services today. Tell us a little bit what brought you on the show today. You have an announcement for us.
Yes. I don't know. First of all, I would like to thank you for having me on your show. I'm excited about that. I want to make sure that I made the announcement on Rain Girl TV.
Thank you.
I've been following you, and you're most definitely an up and coming star. So thank you for giving me the privilege to announce on your show that I'm running for mayor of North Chicago.
Yay! Congratulations to you. We're so happy that you're running. And now, what made you decide to run? I know you've been a citizen of North Chicago pretty much all your life, but what made you decide to run?
Well, the first time I ran for mayor, my good friend Dagwood Hanna, he was tased by the police department. And long story short, I was involved because that was my friend, me and Ralph Peterson. Clyde was in there, Jesse Jackson. There was a lot of celebrities that actually came out and supported Dagwood. And at that time, we had a police department that needed reform. So I went to City Hall in support of my friend, had no intentions. And this was in 2012. Had no intentions of politics at all, kind of like most people. I don't want to be a politician, right? My vote doesn't count. That was kind of my thought when I went there. And I realized at those meetings, and I was sitting there and I was attending and I was speaking up for Dad, I realized that our city was lacking a leader and was lacking leadership. Not speaking of the alderman, but I'm pretty sure you've seen some of the Comcast cable shows in the past where city hall meetings were kind of a thing to watch because uh, we were embarrassing ourselves, point blank. And I realized at that time that our mayor actually lacked vision and enthusiasm. Not taking any credit away from the mayor, he's been the mayor for a while. But at that time, I realized that it was time to pass the torch.
Okay.
And I was young. I was 35 at the time, and I just been doing it ever since.
Okay.
A little bit. Go ahead.
So we talked early on in the show about the funeral that you were attending today. What do you plan on doing about the crime in North Chicago?
Well, one of the things that I've been doing, it's not so much what we're going to do. I've been on the Park District Board currently, and my wife serves on the Park District Board. I'm very involved with the Park District Board, where the Park District is in the process of building new parks.
Mm-hmm.
I was part of building Boat Park, which is the new
Mm-hmm.
park that's on Broadway. I took the initiative to get that built because our children on Broadway needed somewhere to play. And at that time, I wanted a basketball rim too. But we weren't able to get the basketball rim, but we were able to get the new park. So one of the things that we have to do, I was also involved with the Black Lives Matter rally that was this Sunday,
Okay.
and I spoke to Black Lives Matter. And I had a very frank conversation with them. And I hope Black Lives Matter, they don't jump on me about this, but I basically said, what are we going to do after we ask the children to put their guns down? One of the things I've been fighting for the children for a very 2010, I had a parents that care group, and we made sure that our high school children had books and things of that nature. And there were children that were getting sexually harassed um, by people in the school district. We stepped out on that issue. So we've been very vocal about our children and getting activities and programs for our children in our community. I would like to see the Park District actually build a teen center. I would like to see the city work together with the Park District and the school district. And that's something that I've been preaching since day one. And that's a good way to get the children involved in other activities. And as a sitting mayor, it's so much influence that you have with that seat to bring change to your community. And I'm very excited about taking that seat and actually speaking up for our children and refocusing some of our city activities to gear them more towards children.
Well, we currently have the youth center, what is known as I guess that would be where the Park District is. So you're thinking about adding an additional teen center in North Chicago?
Kim, I've got to go back a little bit. I've always with, and I have to do a little bit of education. There
You
are
know what I'm
actually
talking about, right? Like the youth center that we have there. Are you?
no, I don't think I don't think. Why can't our community have a brand new teen center?
Oh, I agree. I
Why
100.
can't our community have built it from scratch, from the ground up? Why there's all this property that's being given away in the city of North Chicago? Why we can't utilize property that we currently have? And why do we have to take seconds? Why do we have to, um, be any? You go to any other community, they build from the ground up. So I I would want the people in our community to have high expectations. And
Okay.
that's one of the things as running as mayor. Um, I know our community is a great community, and I know our community, I know we have challenges that we have to face. And one of the things that I'm excited about is being given a chance to show the community and the community to support us and bringing a real difference to our community, especially with our children. Our children are our future generation. But I don't want to get sidetracked. I have to do a little bit of educating. The school district, Falls Park District, and the city are all three separate entities. And I've been preaching this since 2012. We are all separate taxing bodies, but we are only one village. We're one city. The school district affects how people come into, which type of people come into our community based on what type of education system we have. The Foss Park Recreational Center and Foss Park at one time had a swimming pool. Well, the fire department came in and actually filled that swimming pool up with water. So there's things that we all can work together on in order to bring change in the community. And that's what I see is a lack of cooperation with our current leader that's in office.
Okay, so I mean, this segues me into if you received $1 million, like $1 million grant to use for the city in any way you wanted, what would you do with that money and why?
That's grocery store,
Grocery store?
period, point blank. Now, second up and running is I would put $1 million into Novak King.
Why
And I would
Novak
turn that
King?
in, why Novak King?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's centrally located in the center of our community, and I would turn it into a resource center where people in our community, we can go, we can get help, The children can have a real youth center with a real basketball rim and a real basketball court. We can have adult programming in there. We can have senior programming in there. We can just utilize that building for so much in our community that it's just falling apart now.
So
Now, I would say groceries. The only reason why I say grocery store first is because we can have a grocery store in our community. And we've been told so many times that we can't have a grocery store in our community for X, Y, and Z reasons. That's not true. It's who you know, and there's enough money in North Chicago that we can have a grocery store. And I think I know bringing a grocery store to North Chicago will help bring hope to our city. That you always hear people saying, North Chicago doesn't have a grocery store. North Chicago doesn't have a grocery store. And that's one of the things that I would like people to stop saying, and saying, yes, North Chicago, we finally have a grocery store. And I think that builds more. The grocery store means more to us as a community than just the groceries that it's going to provide. That's why I say grocery store first.
Well,
so I know my camera has gotten dark, right?
yeah, it's gotten a little dark.
Okay, can you still see me?
Now I can. When the light passes, I don't know if you have to turn like a light on in the vehicle.
Okay.
That
Is that
is so much better. What are the top 3 things that you would do to move North Chicago like effectively forward? We got economic issues with people not having jobs here in North Chicago. We have Sheridan Road look a mess. We have crime, young kids getting gunned down in the street while they're playing ball. Like, what steps are you going to effectively take the moment that you are elected mayor?
Well, the strongest suit that we have, and that's what we want to take advantage of, is our real estate background, which I was endorsed by the Illinois Association of Realtors and the National Association of Realtors, which is a huge realtors union. Realtors, just a little bit of a background, our job is to know the companies that are moving, to find them land. So realtors are one of the first people to know when a company is trying to move or when a company is trying to move in.
Well, I mean, I'm a realtor also, and you would think that we would be the first people to know, but we're not always the first that know.
Well, it depends on where you're at with the realtors. I sat with some of the realtors that were plugged. I mean, I don't know what other way to put it.
Well, when you say plug, what's that like?
What I mean by plugged is they are in the know. They know when major organizations are moving. I'll give an example.
Is that white realtors or is it black realtors?
White.
There you go.
That's just being honest. White. I mean,
there you go. That's a problem.
And that is true. And we're not talking about local realtors, local black realtors. We're talking about white realtors, because I was endorsed by the NAR and the IAR. I was speaking with the governor and the treasurer of Illinois, Dan Rutherford, and the governor at the time, and that's the table that I'm currently sitting at. That was the table that was in the know, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, this is not unfortunately, but this is a black community. There's tons of realtors, as it is myself. And a lot of times the black realtors and black people are the last to know what's going on in their own cities. So I don't know if I think I want to hold the mayor accountable for that too, because that's not good for the city that you live in. The city that you live in should be a part of every project as far as the community go. So one person having an upper hand on the other person, that's not really a great way to do business either. That's what's hurting our community as a whole, is things like that.
Correct. Absolutely correct. And you can go farther in saying that no one was involved in rebuilding none of us was involved in rebuilding of the Marion Jones projects. No, we're not involved in the 14th Street reconstruction project. We're not involved. We just got involved in landscaping in our own community. And if you look at City Hall, it's not a reflection, and I'm talking about the administration of
The
City
workers,
Hall.
you're right, the workers that work
It's
there.
not a reflection of us. And we have education, we have diplomas, we have degrees. And I think that's one of the things that North Chicago falls behind on, is supporting ourselves, promoting from within. Not saying that we don't need outside help, because I think that if you're being honest and you're really trying to build a community, but our people need to take priority. And that's the way you break that cycle in our city. Our Black contractors, we need jobs. Our community businesses, we need to work with them. Our gas stations, if it means that, you know, we're using Black businesses to print for us at City Hall, or we're using not just Black businesses, but North Chicago businesses. And I don't want to make it a race thing, because we're becoming more diversified as a city. But if you're from this community, you live in this community, you work in this community, then I think that you should have some type of precedence when it comes to getting city jobs and city contracts.
Well, if you have HR people that's white, and you have a lot of the supervisors at City Hall that's white, based off of what it's looked like, it's been pretty hard to get Blacks in the door, so that's kind of holding a lot of people who are capable of doing the jobs at a standstill. It's not the way things should be, especially when you have a city that's primarily African American.
Communication. You have to be able to communicate with the community. You have to be able to get your message out. And when these jobs become available, we can't just stick it on some website that no one pays attention to, or stick it in the classified ads of the newspaper, where us as a community, we don't tend to watch those certain areas, but actually getting the message out to Black contractors like Mr. Givens, Platinum Landscaping.
What about BAM? Well, BAM is construction, right?
Well, BAM is involved in construction. You talk about Brother Blanks.
Yes.
But getting the message to him is getting the message to others. So we have to make sure that people like Brother Blanks is in the know, so that they can pass that information along through their platforms also, not just on the back page of the city website, because they really don't want anybody to see it. So it's important that you have a relationship with businesses in your community. And if you have that relationship with the businesses in your community, and you say, hey, well, let's have a tow contract. At one time, we did have a minority-owned tow truck company in the city of North Chicago.
What happened?
Right off, Mr. Hill, he didn't have the city contract. He lost the city contract.
Okay.
So he kind of had to move. That's where I actually knew his son, Keenan Hill. And that's how I kind of knew the Hills.
Okay.
But our businesses will be the first businesses that you would think of when these contracts became available. Mm-hmm. Now, not saying that I'm not an advocate for saying, okay, let's do 100% North Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
because there are other people outside the community that bring assets to our community. But 0% North Chicago is far from where we need to be. And I say that, and if you know me, I mean, I speak very upfront.
Mm-hmm.
There are good people from outside our community that work at City Hall, and they're white. And
Okay.
I know them personally, and they do a great job at what they're doing. But the problem that I see is that we don't have one black face. Are you telling me that no one in our community is educated or has the job experience to do a certain amount of jobs?
Well, I don't really think that if you go to Gurney or Libertyville that they stand there and they explain why they're hiring all white people. They just do what they do. They don't explain it. And I think the leader, whoever is going to be the leader in North Chicago, need to stop feeling like they have to explain. There are a plethora of educated men and women that's qualified to work in the city of North Chicago. And you don't see
Absolutely.
a Waukegan. I'll say it for you. You don't see Waukegan, you don't see Libertyville, you don't see Vernon Hills or Gurney explaining why they hired so many white people. If you're qualified to do the job, then you should get the job. There's absolutely no reason why North Chicago City should be filled with all those white people and not a lot of black people working in the city that they live in. Now, I
I
know
agree with
that
you
a number of
100%.
excuses have been used as far as they don't apply, or they like the police officer excuses, they don't apply, or they move to North Chicago, they work there, then they leave, or even the thing with Abbott's, we have the major company of Abbott's here. One of the excuses that I heard was when black people in North Chicago get their jobs at Abbott, they move out of North Chicago. Okay, well, they may move out of North Chicago, but there's still people who work at Abbott's who still live in North Chicago. And, everybody's not leaving North Chicago. So what happened to the residents that's still living here? And we have to drive down a Sheridan Road where there's buildings like boarded up. The streets are just horrible. Nobody wants to ride down the main arteries of North Chicago and see buildings boarded up and see, just like a bomb hit, when we work and pay our taxes here in North Chicago. So I think
I agree
one of
with
the
you.
one of the things that I want to see is Sheridan Road need to be offered more money to get those buildings filled, to get some stores there, so it looked like a real downtown city.
Well, I think there's one thing that you will agree on is that realtors are professionals. If they know or they don't know, their job is to know. Meaning your job as a realtor is to bring development to the community, bring buyers, homeowners to North Chicago. That's what you do. That's how you get paid, right? Versus someone that might have been a technician and they were climbing, poles in order to put telephone service in. If your job is working with business owners, then you're going to have an advantage when it comes to, let's say, redeveloping the 40 acres.
Right, but the city
Not
have to be
saying,
willing to work with multiple realtors, not just pick certain realtors that they get along with, or pick certain media stations that they want to work with, or certain, political officials. The city has to get out of this whole, well, if I agree with you, then we can work together. They got to learn, the city as a whole has to learn to agree to disagree, but still get along and build the city of North Chicago. That's what's really, it's too much oh, well, we cousins or we're family, so you do this for me, I do this for you. It's too much of that going on in the city of North Chicago. So everybody has to be willing to kind of work together, even when it comes to the aldermans. One religion, oh, he's Baptist, oh, he's Pentecostal, or oh, he have more people sitting in that church last Sunday. So, all that kind of bickering and things have to stop. I mean, it's in every city, but we have to find, as citizens, and as you being a potential mayor, have to find ways to kind of build together.
Okay. I am who I am, Kim, and I know my campaign team is not going to like this one here, right? Because as we was off the air, I told you that my main position was not to throw shots at the mayor, because people know what the mayor does, right? And to let people know what I'm going to do. And that's been the focus of our campaign. But without me saying this, I feel that we're not addressing the elephant in the room. And I want to address the elephant in the room. This city is paid to play. You have to pay in order to play, period. It's proven. People know it. It's no secret. It's no secret why there's certain people that get contracts and there's other people that don't. If you look at the campaign fundraising of the mayor, you will see that 90%, and the next time we're on an interview, has contributed to his campaign. The problem that I've always had with pay to play is you cannot stop all corruption. You can't. As a politician, they will kill you first. Look at Harold Washington. So it's not about stopping all the corruption, and it's impossible. It's like trying to feed the world, right? Or trying to solve the hunger problems. That's will continue to go on. The problem that I have is these people that are paying to play, they're taking everything. They're not leaving the citizens with anything. Like you, Kim, you're not, you wouldn't ask for the entire 40-acre contract, but goodness gracious, give you a couple buildings at least. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not asking to rebuild Marion Jones, but let us cut the grass or do the landscaping with Mike. We're not
Exactly.
asking to redo all of 14th Street and the sewers and the pipes, because a lot of our people don't have the equipment. But can we at least blacktop City Hall with Mr. Givens? Can we still have a portion? And that's the problem that I have, is that not the corruption, but when the corruption gets so bad that the people are hurt.
Right.
Now, and I'm not here to throw shots. I'm here to say it like it is, and that's what it is. I
That's
got
right.
records, I got receipts,
Right.
and I know what's going on. Now, the homes that are being brought up, you do your research. You do your research on the homes that are being brought up. It's not being brought up by us it's not being brought by us in the
Right.
community.
Right.
There's no
Right.
programs that you can buy a house for $1. There's no
Exactly.
programs where you're giving people in the community a chance to be homeowners so you can raise your rental into homeowners to take
Right.
more pride in your community to do better,
Right.
because you
Right.
now are invested. What you're doing is you're selling this property to outside people,
Absolutely.
which are then coming in and renting it back to us
Yep.
under the perception of, we helped one family get a home. Yeah, but you sold 90 homes and you helped one of us. That's a problem. Now you're selling our property right from underneath us, and it's people in our community that would love to buy a home that might just need that little bit of a credit break, that might just need you to waive all the taxes or all the city liens that you
Have
have from cutting the grass.
Have you considered maybe doing a town hall meeting?
With who?
With the city of North Chicago, you know.
Well, you know, we're at the point now that we've been so discouraged and we've been hit over the head so much that people are saying your vote does not count.
Well, no, it
And I
does.
understand it. And I've been there. I don't know if, you know, I don't know if you admit it or not, but at one point I thought my vote didn't count.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't, I tell people all the time, politician is not a fun job.
No,
Okay.
it's
It's
not.
not a job that before you even know me, you think I'm a liar, you think I'm a crook, you think I'm a thief. Hold on 1 second. Let me let this. That's because it's the field that I'm in. And I've made a lot of sacrifices in order to be considered a politician, right? So I don't blame anyone for not wanting to go to a town hall meeting. I don't blame anyone for not voting. I just pray that one day, as they get mature in life, and that me and you know, after you see a few things, you learn a few things hit home, things start to affect you personally, you understand the importance of voting.
Right.
And as a community, our numbers are 800 to 1,000 people that come out to vote out of 8,000 registered voters, right? So we as a people, we've been beaten over the head so much. Harriet Tubman, I believe, said this one. I could have freed 1,000 more slaves if they only knew that they were slaves.
Yep.
We can do so much more as a community if we just realize that our vote is important. And the more votes we have, the more attention that we get as a community and the more changes that we can demand in our community by just getting our voting numbers up. And I'm not beating anybody up for not voting. That's not what I'm doing. But yes, I'm willing to have a town hall meeting. I don't have a problem with that. I'm willing to address any issue. I'm willing to have a debate. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get the message out.
Okay.
And I'm
Well,
asking, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
And I'm asking people to take a look around your community. And Donald Trump said it. Your schools are horrible. Your crime rate is high. You're not getting your share of property. What do you have to lose? We've had a current mayor that's in office. We as a community, I've been here all my life. So we as a community, we've seen the changes in our community. We've seen our community not go in the direction that we wanted to go in. We've driven over the same potholes for the last 10 years that you even know where the potholes are in your on your street. So you're avoiding the potholes on your street.
Mm-hmm.
When as a community are we going to say enough is enough? And my goal is to be there and to be a choice on the ballot when our community says, I want a change.
Okay.
If people don't put their names on the ballot, people don't have choices. I just want to make sure that I've prepared myself, I've studied, I've taken this serious so that when the people are fed up and they go to the polls, they're going to have a choice.
That's right. That's right. And I want to thank you for coming on the show with me tonight. I can't wait to get this uploaded to Channel 17 Comcast TV and also on my YouTube channel, which is Rain Girl TV on YouTube. And I love to have you come back on the show and talk a little bit more. I know election time is not until February 23rd. So hopefully we can have a couple of more interviews and talk about some of the things that's going on in the news. Even talk about the Biden and Trump campaign. I'd love to have you on to discuss that as well. But we're
And you
very
know what I would
excited.
like to you know what I would like to discuss? Matrix.
Oh,
That's
Matrix
what
is
I want to discuss. I want
Matrix
to
is
discuss
doing very well. He actually has his own clothing line right now. So he's working on that project right now.
Great, great, great. I want to discuss our children. I want to discuss our children's future moving
Yeah,
forward. And
yeah,
I know we both had challenges in our community, and I know that's a common ground for our children. And we didn't even touch the surface on our
we
children the
haven't.
way that I want to touch the surface on our children. But by us both having children, we know that there's changes that also need
Need
to
to
be made
occur.
with our
Yeah.
children.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I want to get you back on and talk a little bit more with you about some things and hear about, your plans for the city of North Chicago, because I want to share this with as many people as possible in the city of North Chicago, so they know that this election is very important. We have to try something new. When if something that is not working out for you, you have to do what you got to do. It is what it is.
It's kind of personal for me. You know, one thing is when our children are not getting educated, and another thing is when the climate is our children are getting gunned down in the streets. It's a whole different level of seriousness
I agree.
and personal.
I
You
agree.
know, this election has become personal because I know a lot of our children are depending on our generation to grab the torch and make sure that they're safe and make
Absolutely.
sure that they have things to do. So this election means a lot to our children, and it's gotten bad. And I'm really excited, and I'm really looking forward to bringing some hope to our youth.
Okay.
So once
Well,
again, thank you for
thank
having
you
me.
so much. No problem. We'd love to have you back.
All right.